text for today is taken from the Gospel of Mark, the 13th chapter. Only two verses, the first two verses of this chapter, which will serve as the basis and set the stage for our remarks. Mark chapter 13, verses 1 and 2. Then as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples said to him, Teacher, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And Jesus answered and said to him, Do you see these great buildings? Not one stone shall be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. May the Lord add his blessing to the reading of his word today. The National Geographic Channel has a television program on that it runs each week and has for several years entitled Mega Structures. Each week they look at and examine the history and building of the world's biggest and largest structures. For example, one week they will examine the world's biggest skyscraper. The next week they might look at the world's biggest dam. The next week they might examine the world's biggest underground tunnel, the world's biggest airplane, the world's biggest roller coaster. That's what that show is all about. It looks at the world's biggest, at the mega structures that man has achieved and accomplished. Well, in our text for today, we have mentioned for us the mega structure found in the city of Jerusalem back in the first century when Jesus walked on this earth. To get an idea of the mega of this structure, we first want to look at the awe that this structure drew from people. In verse 1, as Jesus and his disciples are leaving the temple, one of his disciples points his attention to the stones and buildings which make up this temple. Now, why did he do this? I mean, it's obvious Jesus and everyone else could see the building. So why did he point it out to Jesus? Well, obviously, this disciple is blushing and gushing with awe and amazement at what he has seen, and for good reason. For what he has seen had never been seen before. When King Herod came to power about 40 years before Christ came to this earth, he set out to build the biggest and largest temple that had ever been built. Even bigger than the famous temple that King Solomon had built. Now Herod did this not to please or honor God, but to show off to Caesar in Rome, and to pacify the Jewish people that he ruled over, whom he really despised and detested. At the time of our text, this temple had been under construction for about 60 years. And it would not be completely completed for another 30 years. The size of this structure was far and away the biggest structure the city of Jerusalem had ever seen. The eastern side of the temple was covered with solid gold. And when the sun would hit that side in the afternoon, you could not look at it with the naked eye, for it would blind you. The dome or top of the temple was covered with solid marble, so that it looked like it was covered with snow the year round. This mammoth structure could be seen for miles and miles and miles. If National Geographic had been around back then, I guarantee you this temple would have been their first program in their series of mega structures. Well, now let's look at the agreement found in our text. Look in verse 2. Jesus answered and said to him, Do you see these great buildings? Now, why did Jesus do this? The disciple has just pointed out that he's seen these great buildings. So why did Jesus ask this question? Well, that word for great there, do you see these great buildings? Guess what that word means? You guessed it. mega. That's how you pronounce it. That's how they spelled it. That's where we get our word mega. Jesus literally says, do you see these mega buildings? Do you see this largest and biggest building of all? So Jesus is agreeing with his disciple. He says to him in effect, you're right, my son. Look at how big this building is. You're right, my child. This is something to see, something to behold. This is fabulous. This is fantastic. I don't blame you for being in awe of this. I don't blame you for marveling at it. Oh yeah, my child, this is something to see. But notice, that's not all he said in verse 2. No, after he brags on the building and agrees with the disciple, look at what he says in the rest of the verse. He issues an alert. Look at what he says will happen to this mega structure. Not one stone will be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. Oh yeah, boys, yeah, check it out. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. It's fabulous. It's magnificent. Yeah. But let me tell you something. What you're seeing is going to be completely destroyed. What you're seeing is going to vanish and disappear. What you're seeing is going to be taken down and apart, stone by stone. Now, when Jesus said this, I know what the disciples were thinking. I can read minds. I can read yours right now. I can't read mine, but I can read yours. Okay? And I can read theirs. I know what they're thinking. They're thinking to themselves, now, Jesus, we love you, but you can't be right. They're looking at that thing. Jesus, they wouldn't say it. Jesus, we love you, but you're wrong. What can take down this? This? So big? Nothing can destroy this. I can just see them with their mouths open and eyes rolling and budged out. Jesus, we love you, but no way this is going to be destroyed. Nothing could bring this mammoth thing down. Well, was Jesus right? The dogs bark? The cats scratch? The Tennessee win yesterday? Of course he was right. This temple was finally finished about 30 years after Jesus ascended back to heaven. And then when it was finally finished, do you know how long it lasted? Only 6 more years. After 6 years, the Roman army marched in and did exactly what Jesus said would happen. They destroyed this temple and the whole city stone by stone. They completely leveled it from the earth. What took man 90 years to build, then lasted for 6 years, and then took man 1 year to destroy. Now, this leads us to the advice that we find Jesus giving here, both to them and to us. Here's what Jesus is telling us, folks. Man and his mega whatever ends. I, the Messiah, am eternal. Man and his mega whatever is temporary. I, the Messiah, am timeless. Man and his mega whatever is fleeting, but I, the Messiah, am forever. Man and his mega whatever will cease, but I, the Messiah, will continue. Man and his mega whatever will disappear, but I, the Messiah, will always be around. Man and his mega will be toppled, defeated, and destroyed, but I, the Messiah, I cannot be toppled, I cannot be defeated, and I will not be destroyed. That's what he's telling them, and that's what he's telling us. Compare these words of Jesus about this temple. Not one stone will be left. And then, what did he say in John 2:19? Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I'll raise it. And that's exactly what he did when he arose from that grave and left the tomb. So in light of this, folks, who are you going to place your faith and trust in? Man's mega or God's Messiah? Who are you going to believe in? Who are you going to follow? Who are you going to live for? Who are you going to obey? Who are you going to serve? Some mega of man that will be gone, or God's Messiah who ain't going anywhere? That's our choice. We can trust in something or someone which will end, or we can trust in the one who will endure and never end. Man's mega or God's Messiah. That's our choice. Folks, that's an easy choice. That is an easy choice. An easy choice. God's Messiah. He never ends. He's endless. He's eternal. He's timeless. While all of man's megas will be gone. Not him.